GM, GA, GE, wherever you may be. Today on Lucky Trader, we will be talking about what's going on in NFTs. We will be doing our 1000 USD giveaway that we're doing through Lucky Trader, as well as we'll be talking about some stuff potentially on Solana, potentially on Ryan Carson, what he's been saying recently. So more on that today. All right, Tyler. So we've had some big news this week. There have been a couple big sales. There have been just stuff going on. ETH has been pretty much, it's just been chopping between 1,300, well, slightly under 1,300 and like 1,400 for the past week or so. So nothing really of note as far as coins are going. Like things on macro is pretty much the same. But how's your week been? Have you been pretty happy of what's going on with things right now?
I think we have to be happy. I mean, yesterday was just absolute insanity. It's the biggest day we've had in months, maybe since the other side launch. Like when you think about everything that went down, and I mean, I guess it's just two major things. But QQL minted out at 14. That was 13,000 ETH primary volume. We haven't seen a primary sale like that in probably since PXN. Well, PXN probably did less than that. So it's been a significant amount of time. 3,300 ETH punk sale, 9.5K ETH just on OpenSea. Put those together, it was 27,000 ETH volume day. For those that have been tracking, we've been in the 7,000 to 8,000 per day range. So it was 3.5x standard day. And it was a nice reminder that, hey, there is liquidity out there. And people take the top end art collectibles very seriously.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think of it as well, where it's like, okay, maybe there's not a ton happening in the like 0.02 ETH projects that in the past, like we've seen a lot, are just sort of pump and dumps, don't have much staying power. But the stuff pretty much, I don't know, at this point, it's almost like if you're not Yuga, like you're not seeing many big sales. And what I mean by big sales is like over 20 ETH. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's still like Moonbirds are still having sales like every day, and some of these Azuki, like these other mid-tier projects, but the 1,000 ETH sales, the 20th floor on QQL, those types of things are there's just less common. Like Digi's in that like 10 to 12 range as well. Like there's still these opportunities, but when it comes to the big sales, it's still all just sort of under that Yuga wing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it just cements that. I mean, the top end luxury NFT market, the top value, ultra high value, it's in punks, and in generative art, it's with Tyler Hobbs right now. Maybe Dimitri is in that conversation. He's just been a little bit more quiet.
Ringer artist.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think we gotta lead in with the punk sale, right? Like, should we just get into it?
Yeah, let me pull that up.
So we've got our new number 4 largest sale of all time here. I'll zoom in a little bit. 3,300 ETH, 4.45 million for Danny Seed Phrases Hoodie Ape Punk. It's the number 1 sale in ETH terms for any non-alien at this point. So it set several records. He bought this, I want to say December 21 for like $69,000 and held it for 18 months. Turned 69K.
Crazy buy at the time too.
Yeah, that's what it's easy. I think there's been a lot of chatter of, he missed the top. He missed the top by a wide margin. And that's true. I mean, it's crazy to see this number 12 zombie that sold for $5.3 million because of where ETH was at the peak of the August bull last year. It was only 1,600 ETH. So Danny got way more ETH at 3,300. So from a tax perspective, that's, he played it masterfully.
Yeah, I think I saw it. There was like a 17 million offer at one point. something like that. Yeah.
Oh god, it had a 17
In
million.
March of this year too.
Yeah, that wasn't that long ago. So that's back before that was peak. Oh, I guess so. That's 3 weeks before Moonbirds comes out, and like 6 weeks before the other side.
What do you think his floor was? Because I think I saw that bot said this is like the correct value was 3,300 Ethereum. But as we mentioned last week, he started somewhat of a little Dutch auction, started with that 4.2
Yeah.
and went to 3.8, 3.48, 3.3. You think he would have gone down to 3? Would he have left this up for potentially like a week? Because it seemed like it got bought right after, so maybe he had a side deal with someone. But what do you think his floor would have been on this?
I mean, I think he was going to keep going down. I mean, this is a true Dutch auction, right? I mean, he's essentially dropping it 10%, 10%, and then here he dropped it about 5%. So I think we probably would have seen smaller drops, 3.3, 3.2, 3.1. He probably wanted a 3 in front of it. I don't know his, personal situation. I'm trying to see like where was the last actual bid. So I'm not seeing any bids that were that high. So he had a $2.4 million bid. That looks to be the biggest. But man, he bought this in November 2020. So that was before the real run up in punk interest started happening. I think I want to say that was like January January 21 is when some of the sharps started getting in. The floor moved from like
that
5
was like
to 10.
Top Shot started around like mid to late January. So yeah, this was before people knew of what Top Shot was, and really when too many people knew of what Punks was. So to drop $70,000 at that point in time was pretty hefty. But obviously, this was one of the grails. So
yeah, it was big.
Danny's one of the more successful punk owners, obviously. But
yeah, so here's for those who aren't familiar with him on Twitter, Seed Phrase. He was famous. So he's got the 7 Addy Punk, which is essentially a 1-of-1. It's the only one. There's a little bit of debate on actually which punk is better, his 7 Addy versus the Hoodie Ape. I think we both lean that the 7 Addy is probably a little bit better, just from a pure rareness perspective. But aesthetically, the Hoodie Ape is one of the absolute best grails in the set. I love the 3,300 ETH sold, and then just a few hours ago. So what floor should I be sweeping? The Kansas makes a great point. Hopefully, all that money goes into Party Degens. Yeah. Party Degens is one of the biggest raises, I want to say, of any NFT project. It's probably top 25 from their net raise, and it hasn't been doing that great. So hopefully, Danny can help revive it. There's been a lot of interest in the buyer, and the buyer story is equally interesting. It's still anon as far as I know. I haven't really seen any updates here this morning, but this buyer bought ETH at $228 back in May of 2017. They had 2,900 or so ETH since then. Added a bit to the position and bought it. So their cost basis is also not that much.
I think I did the math out. It's like 700K or so.
Okay.
But this says 2,900. So I don't know if this wallet added 400 like yesterday though. But I believe their cost basis was less than $1 million. If this is true, and with the blockchain technology, I believe it is. Right. It's funny because a lot of punk wallets, people say that the actual supply of punks is much lower because there's a ton of wallets that have just been inactive. But this is one that apparently has been inactive for 5 years, comes out, just buys a Grail punk. Like, kind of wild.
It is. A few interesting aspects of it here. One, the tax bill, right? His tax bill just on those ETH gains, because you're essentially selling ETH. He's selling ETH at 1,300. So for those 2,900 ETH, he's essentially getting taxed $300 per, something along those lines. So he's got a hefty bill, close to $1 million, just on the purchase. But I think it's just a reminder of these ETH whales out there who are just kind of lurking and can spring into motion at any time. So it'll be interesting if he ever reveals himself or they, to see if we find out who this is, because this is just an absolute grail.
Yeah. We also had another, if you want to call it grail sale, I'm not sure if we really want to call it that. It's more of like a trade, but with Maki Big Brother. And so this is for the Noise Mutant, Mega Mutant. One of 10, they're 10, right? One of 10 Mega Mutants. Basically, a Mega Mutant hasn't sold for less than 1,000 ETH in a little while. But this one went. It's a palindrome, the serial 30003, which I like about it. Kind of, I think this is probably mid. It's not like a lower version of them. Like, I kind of like it. Noise, people seem to do like the noise texture on regular apes. Fragment.xyz acquired this for 1,000 ETH. And then what was the deal on this trade? So basically, they took out a loan to purchase this, correct?
Yeah, so there's been a little confusion. I think there's been a few different tweets circling around, but essentially, Fragment already owned this electric M3. That's one of the 2 Mega Mutants they put up for collateral. They took out a 1,000 ETH loan to pay back 1,044. So this is not one of those like LTV has a liquidation threshold. So this loan has to be paid back in 90 days with 44 ETH interest. They use those.
Doesn't
funds.
Seem like that much.
I think just the ultra high end here.
Yeah.
You're going to get the lower APYs. Just like I'm a pretty active NFT Fi user. I mean, you'll see on the lower end, if you're talking like 2 to 3 ETH loans, anywhere 50% to 100% to higher. It's because they're a lot riskier. But I mean, I think this is, if this was just a normal trader, I think this would be an incredibly risky loan to take out here. We don't really know, like, is this a marketing stunt? You know, what does the Fragment and what is they're behind Applied Primate, which is kind of a story. They're telling a story within the Bored Ape ecosystem. You know, they posted those like wanted or missing flyers a while ago, but you know, what do they have planned that they're going to essentially be able to pay this off? Like this thing isn't going to resell in the next 90 days. Like they're not going to flip it for like 60 ETH profit and then pay this thing off. So it just begs the question, if you've already got the funds, then, you know, why even go through the loan process? Is this, there's a decent amount to unpack here. And it'll be interesting when 90 days is up, kind of what goes down with all this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will be, but like, if you're, I don't know, I assume if you're going to borrow 1,000 ETH, you're probably somewhat of a whale. Do you think they are speculating that something like the Mecha Apes, or there's going to be some sort of like this ape pump ahead of the, what was it, October 31st date, right? For staking, like, my assumption here is they believe Mega Mutants are going to get some sort of bump that, who knows, maybe he gains 50 ETH on this, so they pay back. But don't you have to pay back the 1,044, but they just used the 1,000, right? So how are they going to get 1,000 back?
So even if they're bullish, the Mega Mutants, they essentially locked 2, right? So they went from having 2 Mega Mutants open in their wallet to now they just have 1. Of course, they control all 3 assets. So as soon as they pay off the loan, they will have 3. But
and it's probably the most illiquid asset in the market, right? Like, would a Mega Mutant be the most Yeah, Alien Punk.
Yeah, Alien Punks are still a higher tier. I mean, in
Higher
theory,
number.
these are still trading below Ape Punks as well, right?
Yeah.
So the Alien and Ape Punks are still a higher tier than these, but these are probably above Zombie Punks. And it's also led to some chatter. Are the gold Bored Apes going to start commanding 4-digit values here in the near future? I'm not quite as sold on that just yet. I wanted to see just the other. So there are 12 of these, by the way. Let's see if we can pull up all the M3s. It'd be fun to see just like a ranking of all these and where people, kind of value. Like, we assume that the gold is definitely up there, right? The trippy gold. Are those the top two? What else is top 3
The
or
gold
4?
isn't out yet, right?
Oh, okay. So gold is. So what is this one then?
Oh, gold is left, and no, okay.
The cheetah. Is
Yeah,
not out,
that one is gold. So it is the cheetah. Yeah, the one, the trippy one is held by Leor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how many of these have resold? Is it just those 4 have resold as mutants, but then the bottom 3 here sold as the serum?
I think that's how it went down.
And I think that noise also, the noise was also purchased. That was the first serum purchased at 350 ETH by Maki, because we were looking that up. He made like 180,000 USD terms, and it was like 650 in ETH terms on the sale. But yeah, so pretty much that means almost all of them have been traded in some format. Imagine getting one of these, like that the electric one, that was one that someone minted, I guess, right? Not sure how you would word it in this scenario, but they
got the
got
vial
the
or the
serum, and it was an M3, and they popped it because of serial numbers. The serial numbers that are above 30,000 were done after. So yeah, kind of is interesting.
Wild to see. Yeah.
These Mega Mutants.
It's gonna be fun to see. Like, eventually, we're gonna get Mech Apes. We're gonna hear a little bit more. Like, there's got to be more to come for
Staking
the
stuff
M3s.
too.
But what might be a good seg is Machi did not rest on his 1,000 ETH for very long. He rolled it almost immediately into QQL. So QQL was the most hyped, probably the most hyped mint of September, maybe since the other side, really. From Tyler Hobbs, the artist behind Fidenza and Incomplete Control. They partnered with a programmer, Dandelion, and they used Archipelago. Archipelago is an Art Blocks resale marketplace, where it's kind of a better version of OpenSea for browsing and seeing rarity and whatnot. So this was one of their first times launching a Dutch auction mint. The feedback was amazing. I definitely watched the mint go down. It started at 50 ETH, and there was going to be 900 for sale, and it was a true fair Dutch auction, meaning it was a refund mechanism, so that whatever the final resting price was, if you minted for more than that, you got the money back. They also had kind of a unique mechanism where, let's say you bought one for 50 ETH and the final was 10, you had the ability to add more ETH, or let's say the final was 30, you had the ability to add like 10 ETH and then get 2 versus getting your refund back. Had this nice little kind of colored bar chart where you could visually see the mints happening along with the counter. I think that added to some of the FOMO. I was way off on my prediction. So I thought this thing was going to go to 4 or 5 ETH. People were calling me crazy. I thought they were crazy for saying this thing was going to go out at 15 to 20. Guess what? It went out at 14
and
for 900 of these.
it's up. That's another thing that was surprising.
All of my predictions were wrong. I also said it was going to do poorly on the secondary market. Maybe we'd see a 30 to 50% drawdown. Nope. Quite the opposite. It's up 50% on the secondary market, which just defies logic to me. The way that this mechanism went, anyone who wanted these had abundant opportunity to buy during the primary sale. So the only logic, I think that there's two use cases. One, whales who just missed the 1 hour window, right?
Yeah.
They're busy. Maybe they're in different time zones. They didn't want to stay up all night. Like Dingling, he's in Australia, right? Maybe he missed this and just bought when he woke up. So I think that's one. I think there's also maybe some logic in wanting to see if the market was going to tank afterwards. And we saw that briefly. So
there were like 14 ETH accepted like within the first half hour.
Yes. It went down to like 12 or is either 12 or 12.99, but we definitely saw 12 prints. Here we see some of the lows. This one's 12.98 at 12.47. So I want to say that was within like 20 minutes. So clearly some very nervous flippers did get into the mint. They got scared. They got out fast, but their stuff got bought up fast. A big decision / impact was Dandelion announced that they were not supporting X2Y2 and essentially had blacklisted from a smart contract level the ability to trade the mint passes on X2Y2 because they didn't want the royalties to be bypassed.
What do you think about that as far as like, should they be able to do that? Because X2 had a nice little response tweet to it, but like that, you're centralizing. What's the point of doing this on decentralized platform?
Yeah, here's X2Y2's response this morning. They were fairly gracious. Congrats to QQL. Then they defend themselves, saying they're not a 0% royalty marketplace. It's essentially open for users to make their own decisions on whether or not they're bypassing or not. And then they kind of go into a little bit of an attack, saying, code is law. If someone can decide where you can transfer your NFT, then you're not the real owner anymore. There's some debate on, what does a fair market entail, and a fair market artist should be able to, control which marketplaces they're on. I don't know. I haven't fully formulated an opinion on this. I'm kind of leaning with X2Y2 to a degree that, we are, this is just an extra, layer of control on top of all this. But, should artists also be allowed to make sure that they have their royalties enforced? I also support that. So it's tricky. I think we're going to see a lot more of this for sure now that this has been done once. And I'm sure X2Y2 is probably panicking a bit that now is this going to be the new norm for a lot of these, these artist mints? And it probably will be. And there's clearly a different trader mentality across these two sites. And like we saw it, all of those cheap sales and the sales that went under mint price yesterday were on X2Y2 because they had less fees. People were looking to just get their quick scalp.
Less of a loss.
Right. On OpenSea, you got the 10% cut. I want to say it was 10% because it was 7.5 plus the OpenSea fee.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, people are a little bit more patient, less likely to take the 1.4.
Well, part of it was because the seller gets 2% of the royalties, right? In this one, or is that just the initial sale? The minter was going to get 2% back. So I think that was part of it, right?
It is. I want to say that is on the actual mints, not the mint pass.
Yeah. Okay. So it hasn't hit yet.
Right. So I don't think that has if I sold my mint pass to you, I don't believe that I get a cut of that.
Okay.
Which that's an interesting transition to what happens now. So everyone who has a mint pass has now the ability starting tomorrow to run the QQL algorithm and create their own QQL. And the way it's set up, it's not just a one-click button mint and you're done. You can run the algo a million times. So because of that, we should see some really grail, really outlier mints on all this, which I definitely think is an upside of using this kind of unlimited roll mechanism. I think the downside is it's all personal curation and essentially custom mints. And why, like, if Lou mints his own QQL, why would I want to buy that? And maybe it's because it's the most aesthetic one in the set. It's the best spirals ever. But wouldn't I just be incentivized to maybe pay a little bit more for a mint pass and go try to make my own? And that's why I was bearish on the secondary market for these. But I think what I missed is people are viewing the mint passes as like the unrevealed vials or serums, and that they'll continue to hold a premium and as more of these get minted and the supply becomes more scarce, that they'll continue to go up in value. And I think I hadn't totally rationalized that. That thesis makes sense. It's clearly what's played out. So once the mint window opens tomorrow, it's most likely scenario is the QQL outputs floor drops and the mint pass probably goes up, or at least hold steady.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting dynamic to this one. And we don't really know what they're going to look like when they started the mint pass. It's kind of one of those things where once people see what it actually looks like, and then that's when they decide to dump because they see other ones look cooler, that sort of thing. But yeah, for me, I think that kind of crazy that this is holding at 20, considering current macro, current count, the count of these. There's 1,000 of them. I think when we were talking about this before, based on previous hops projects, this should be closer to 5, right? We would think, if you consider it off of the 10x. So it's 4 times that. Not sure what necessarily ratio wise it should be, but to me, it's hard to really see at 22 a ton of upside buying here, because you also have to beat out that 10% if you're trying to sell it for more. So do you think that this could hold up higher? Is it going to be one of those things where people like Maki, why does he have 30? I don't see huge reason to have. You had mentioned this before, even having more than one if you're using it for its use case. So I'm assuming he's probably thinking of it as what you mentioned with a supply squeeze of the mint pass itself. That maybe people want these in 6 months from now because they missed out, and now there's only 400 of them left or something. So maybe that could be what it is.
That seems to be the thesis going around. That would be the only reason to accumulate a bag this big. What was especially interesting is Machi bought the 888 serial, and the way that this is going to work is that's not going to be the serial of the QQL that he mints unless he mints it as the 888th in the order. So the serial is going to be replaced. So he simply just has the mint pass serial 888. I think for the floor to hold up, we're going to have to see some big top end sales of the custom outputs. And with how much whale attraction this has, that's probably going to happen. And some of them are just, I don't want to say market manipulation, but they're incentivized to make their own large sales. If I'm Machi, I want to buy an output for 100 ETH because that drives up the EVE of the mint pass.
Maybe he will.
Right. I mean, he's already spent 600, or probably a little bit. He's probably spent 500 ETH.
Yeah, I mean that's why he made that mega sale. He wanted to rotate over
immediately, but he's up. I mean, kudos to him. I mean, I'm laughing and shocked, but he's absolutely up on his bag from where he's been buying. So he's done a nice job. I'm just showing here all the owners. There's clearly some big ones. Rudia has 11. Darren, another top trader, he's got 9 of these. So on and so forth. But if we see the top end sales, I think the supply squeeze and that rare lotto will drive the net pass up. But to your point, it's too risky for me at 22 ETH to try to buy in here. But it's going to be a fun one to watch when these outputs start coming out. I'm really curious to see that secondary market and how these things sell.
Yeah. Cool. The other big one from yesterday was this Azra, which launched on Magic Eden. First Ethereum launch on Magic Eden, as you just showed, has a few big sales. This, I believe, completely minted out the whitelist very quickly. It was already at like a 0.4 ETH floor, so people that were on whitelist made sure they got in there during the whatever it was hour to mint. And then the 700 is basically like a gas war of public. There's only 700 of them out of the 5555 supply. So this has been holding up. I think the lowest it got was around 0.24, 0.25. And it's pretty much been holding up in that 0.3 to 0.4 range. Decent backing behind it. It's pretty good narrative, I think, coming from the minting on Magic Eden's launchpad. Went pretty smoothly. Didn't hear many issues with the mint. Already revealed. Some people seem to like the art. There's a couple 10 ETH plus sales out there as well. So what's your take on this Azra, going off Azra Games? First NFT from Azra Games. And this is an Ethereum launched on Magic Eden. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts. Luckily, I almost missed this one. This launched like an hour after QQL. So it definitely picked an interesting time slot. It would have been an easy one for a lot of people to miss as that was a pretty watched event. I found it, so I missed the mint, so I missed the public just by seconds, unfortunately. But then I spent a little bit of time kind of going through the info here on Magic Eden, and like the team is pretty hard to argue against. I mean, this is a massive team with absolutely real credentials in the gaming space. So their CEO, Mark Otero, formerly the GM of EA Capital Games, he launched Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which has done $1.4 billion in revenue, 100 million downloads. Their COO is from a startup called Waiter, which grew to $1 billion, did a few different seed rounds. Their CTO is an angel investor, focused on cryptocurrency. They've got their VP is a 14-year EA veteran. The list goes on. So it's a real docs team with a deep bench of experience in gaming. It immediately kind of drew parallels to Digidaigaku, right? With Gabe Layden. And Gabe's credentials are matched, or might be hard to match. But I feel like this team is deeper and more extensive than Gabe has for Digis. So in some ways, I feel like this is even a more full roster. Clearly, their social team is kind of taking some lessons from Gabe and how they're doing. Like they're using memes. This is their CEO
Gabe
right
Meta.
Here. This is definitely Gabe Meta. They did a Spaces yesterday. I joined. I missed a part of it. It did sound like he was reading off of a script to a degree, but the team was all in one room. I like that. They got some energy. Overall, I thought it went pretty well. And, we'll see. They've got a fairly lengthy roadmap to, when they're going to roll out an L2, drop a light paper. They're going to do a token offering here, which that's a little bit.
I'm just saying, just another great Magic Eden right here. You have the roadmap. You have all of the breakdown of the project. You have all of the links that you need. Like, it's all right here. Like Magic Eden doing it for you. You don't have to go to an external site. Magic Eden's got it all.
I do really like that. One thing that threw me off, maybe this is just tangential, is the team's website doesn't have this info. Or maybe they do.
The way Magic Eden, when
so it's different.
You can post, like, basically they fill it all out when they applied. Is I believe the workflow there. So they filled it all out for Magic Eden, and Magic Eden displays it for them. So maybe that's why. But yeah, you should be able to just transfer it back over to your site.
But they haven't. So maybe you can click into these folks. Okay, so you can click in and go to their LinkedIn. But what I did like about the Magic Eden version is that it's all just right there, and you can see their bios, right? I mean, how many people are actually going to click on teams and go into their LinkedIn profiles? That level of due diligence is unseen in the NFT space. But Magic Eden puts it all out there for you. So I definitely really like this project page that they've got set up. I'll be curious to see the stats on how the trading volume has gone. Like how many buys were actually on Magic Eden versus X2Y2 versus OpenSea. I want to say X2Y2 and OpenSea have gotten the lion's share of the actual trading volume. That's just anecdotal, but it'll be interesting to see how that's shaken out, how their launch goes from their marketplace. We led with this. We've seen a 15 ETH sale, 12.5 ETH sale. So there's definitely some top end interest in the set. It's the latest free to own meta play, and I think it's one that we have to watch. But the open question is now: are they going to be able to command and maintain attention and hype? Yeah. That's what Gabe has been so good at. Essentially, it's just a playbook at this point, but you have to execute. And they're going to have to start. They're going to have to start iterating against that roadmap soon, or people are going to lose interest. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one that I'm looking at. I think it has somewhat of a I don't want to call it Renga vibes, but where it's in that price range where I think it can catch attention of people. It's cheap enough that it's not a ton of risk versus like buying into a digi right now kind of thing. So I think on that sense, it's only 5,000, well, 5,555, but it's not a 10,000 collection. But yeah, I think this is definitely one to watch. Is that their account, or is that someone scooped them all?
No, that is their account. So yeah. For those who are evaluating this, they kept it's free to own. So this is part of their revenue mechanism to a degree. The team held 1150 of these.
Yeah. So they sold one.
So apparently they sold one, which is a little surprising. Maybe they sold one of the grails, one of those rares. But that's important from a supply standpoint, right? So this is actually 4,400.
Good point. Yeah.
And when you look at the listing volume, so now we're closer to like 17% listed, but the owners are well over 50%, closer to like 60, 65%. So I know there's a lot of kind of differing opinions on teams holding out that much of supply. I like it, especially if you're evaluating this from a shorter term trading perspective. And if you think the team is going to keep those locked up for a while, which I imagine is a part of this, even though we've seen the one, it's a huge reduction in the overall supply. And that's what was a big factor in the Digidagaku run-up, is just there was just no listings. There was no supply available. So the listings yesterday, I was monitoring this pretty close. They're like 900, 950. If this 700 number continues to trickle down, this one, that'll be the metric to watch on this, to see if it has a chance to make a move.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're going to do a quick shift here. We teased it in the title here, but we're going to spin for the 1,000 USD giveaway that we were running as a promo for our app. So actually first I'll run the little app promo while I set this up. That was actually old. It said private beta, but we're now public in the App Store and Google Play. So, gonna spin the wheel here. We had like 527, I think, entries. So, see what we get. Oh, it's anticlimactic because it's all the yeah.
There it is.
Let's see. Yeah, 0xCA. It's let me oh I gotta share the other one. Let's see. Should we give an analysis of this?
Oh, they're a World of Women maxi, huh?
Oh yeah, a bunch of World of Women Galaxy.
Galaxy.
Forgotten
Okay.
Runes. Yeah, it looks like a pretty legit little collection they have here.
Nice.
Big WoW fan. So, congrats on the winner. We'll be sending that over in probably like an hour or so. But yeah, let's. What else do we have that we were going to talk about today?
A few news stories.
Yeah, so on more of like a macro news, real world news front, we've had a few big stories this week. Which one should we do first? Instagram, Meta today, they basically launched. This was previously in private in the past. So now in the US, they have it open to, I think, just everybody. We were trying to test this earlier today. You might need to have your account public. There's probably a bunch of different privacy settings that you have to make sure you have before actually using it. Because if you use, we tried it on, it worked on the Lucky Trader account. Didn't work on my personal Instagram, but I think my personal Instagram has these privacy settings. So basically, you can go in now to your settings, select from there. There's digital collectibles, and then you could be able to connect your wallet, kind of similar to what Twitter had. But in this version, I believe the difference is it's more like you post on Instagram or Facebook. And then what you can see on the right half of this picture is you could go in, you could click on someone else's post that was the NFT. You go in and you can see the information on what the project was, who owns it, who the creator of it was. So if it's like a picture or something like that, you could see who the artist was, say your QQL eventually. You can post that to your Instagram. They could click on, they could see it's, Tyler Hobbs' project, but you're the owner, what the serial is, all the information. So this one's kind of cool. What's your thoughts here? Because I feel like Instagram and Facebook specifically has the most haters of NFTs, at least from my experience doing the social media stuff. But do you think this is a step in the right direction or kind of unnecessary?
I do. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it could be massive. I think this could be the biggest news we've had this week. A lot of fun out there already. First, Meta is already viewed kind of as the evil empire from more of the Web3 NFT native space. At least what we see on NFT Twitter. So they've already got that kind of going against them. The thought I saw this morning is, okay, yeah, go ahead and connect your wallet to Meta, and now they can see your entire crypto transaction history and tie it to your KYC profile. So I think that is a risk and something that everyone should consider, right, when choosing or not to connect your wallet. Just because that is a step of, if you have your name and your face and your pictures out on Meta, right, that is exposing, it's connecting your digital history to your public profile. So if you're okay with that, which I am, then go on. But a lot of people, really value the privacy aspect of this. So I haven't connected yet. I actually went through Instagram this morning. I saw how to do it.
Yeah.
It seemed like I would be able to. I just haven't gone through the process yet.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to use it. Mostly off of the idea that like I don't really like to do much on my phone. As far as like connecting wallets and stuff. I think it's cool that they're adding this. Twitter already had it. Kind of got to compete in that. Especially if they're planning on getting into the metaverse. I mean, they're called Meta. They clearly have this plan long term. So yeah, I think it's cool that it's available to all now. And yeah, we did this article, Lucky Trader, on how to. It had some screenshots on and how to get it connected for you. So check that out if you're interested. The other big one was Walmart. So Walmart getting into the metaverse a little bit.
Here, yeah, that's all I'm saying. There we are.
And through Roblox. So Roblox is basically the fastest growing gaming platform in the world. Like it's basically I don't know how to describe it. I'd say I don't want to call it a better Minecraft, but like graphically better, I guess. But 50 million daily active users on Roblox. Roblox was where they streamed some of the VH1, the music awards. The VMAs were on Roblox, except for the part that Eminem and Snoop Dogg did, because that was in Yuga's metaverse. But yeah, Roblox is kind of like the big metaverse play right now. Walmart, they added a couple what they're calling experiences, free to play. You go on to roblox.com and you could be in Walmart Land and Universe of Play, which they're both a little different. Walmart Land is more like a shop, like to dress up your character, I believe. And the Universe of Play is where you like play mini games where you can earn coins that you can then purchase those NFTs. So, what's your thoughts on Walmart?
Yeah, so I think the big takeaway here is that the success of the metaverse is not necessarily tied to NFTs, to Ethereum, to blockchains, right? So this is all done inside Roblox's world. Walmart's chief product officer said they're not doing NFTs anytime soon. So these aren't necessarily these aren't NFTs, right?
But they like are, and I think that's what he's also realizing. He's like, early on I didn't think NFTs mattered, kind of thing, but I think learning that it's not that different from what you're already doing.
That is really interesting. That's the kind of the light bulb going off for him. So, and I haven't experienced this myself. So you get the Birch, you use their coins, they're airdropping in the Roblox world, and then you can use them for virtual goods. Essentially, we'll call it clothes for your avatar. I mean, it's a digital collectible. Like that's the definition of it. I guess if it's not tokenized on the blockchain, that would be the difference between an NFT and what they're doing. But still, I think it's a positive step into the metaverse. It's another major brand, saying that they are going to start playing in this and see the value. It'll be another one. It's going to be interesting to watch the user data on this and how many people are playing in Walmart Land and gaining and spending these coins.
Yeah, I do think that it'll be interesting to see how this sort of plays out. It's funny when we do posts like this where, as you mentioned, like it's not NFTs. People just like assume it's NFTs off of the name and connecting the two, and people still get triggered off of posts like this. It's like no, you don't have to. Don't worry, you don't have to own an NFT because it's gonna kill you to do it. So yeah, I think this is just another big brand that is seeing the value in this technology long term, like the metaverse technology, and this sort of marketplace that NFTs have been allowing and opening the door for. So it'll be cool to see how this plays out. Another one that like I don't use Roblox, so I probably won't really use this one, but cool to see that's happening. This is where that next generation is growing up in Roblox. So
then another major brand, the Warner
yeah.
Music Group. So just a few hours ago, they announced this partnership with OpenSea to essentially open up the ability for their artists in the Warner Music Group to launch NFTs, to be able to participate more on the platform. So, this is just another major group with real artists, and I haven't had a chance to dive into kind of who's all on the Warner Records team and payroll here, but OpenSea is making a big splash lately. They've redone their website. They're launching mints. Now partnering with Warner Music Group. I think it's been a big week for them, certainly, ahead of all this.
Yeah, it's cool when you're seeing like OpenSea's really been making a lot of these connections recently, and I mean I've said it a bunch of times here that I think that the industry that makes the most sense with this technology is music. We saw Ticketmaster had that stuff a couple weeks ago, and Warner Music Group is seeing the potential out there. So another one to keep your eye on. This one, I think, more likely one that I'll pay a little more attention to and then in and outs of. Obviously, pretty much use OpenSea every day, whether or not I'm buying anything on there. I still go on there every day. So I think that's a big part of it as well. And then the other story that we had from yesterday was this Christies opens blockchain powered marketplace. So what do you think about this? Because I feel like anytime Christies has touched NFTs, it's been bad. Just like they did the Twitter NFTs that were just terribly ran. They did the Punks auctions. They did the Bored Ape auctions. So what do you think about Christies here?
Yeah, I feel like there will be some bumps along the way. But this probably is the single story that might correlate to our bags pumping the most, depending on what bags you have, especially in the digital art space. From what I understand, it was quite a hurdle, ahead of this announcement for those who are more crypto native to be able to even participate in these auctions. And if you didn't want to convert, your currency to USD, then you probably just weren't able to participate at all. And that very well may have, diminished some of the buyer pools for some of the NFT auctions that they've had to date. So it removes the barrier for those who are crypto native now to come in and bid on, their big auctions that are going to be taking place. Hopefully it makes the transfer process easier and more seamless as well. It'll be interesting if it starts to chip away at their fees. I don't know the ins and outs, but from what I've heard, just from those who have participated in the Christie's auctions, their fees are outrageous.
Yeah,
there's a big argument against Christie's, like with OpenSea, with these marketplaces we have with Super Rare. Why does a seller even need to go through Christie's? Versus just using the tools we have at place already. The answer has been, well, it exposes to an audience that may not already be there, right? And more in the traditional space. So is that trad art group going to use this MetaMask integration? Is that a big deal for them? Probably not. So it's more just bigger news for those who are crypto native, but still it removes the barrier. Every one of these that we kind of chip away at is just making everything easier for the future, for the next bull run, when we really start to heat back up.
Yeah, just kinds of saying, Christie's, just put your stuff on an OpenSea auction. And I mean, it's true, but they also have to stay afloat somehow, right? So they want to be able to do it themselves and get their own fees. So I get that side of it, but we'll see how this works out. Like, I think there are a lot of people that just consider at this point Christie's just boomers as far as they go. Like, Make it a Magic Eden auction. They're up and understand it at this point. But yeah, was there anything else from this week that caught your eye or want to touch on?
I think we covered it. Just one quick stat. We've been talking about Magic Eden. I still link Magic Eden with Solana, even though they're branching out. They're showing a lot of ETH, NFTs. They've actually gotten some pushback against that from more of their Sol native base. But people need to be aware. Solana NFTs are surging. It's probably a combination of drop of volume in ETH and the rise in some of the big Sol projects lately. But their market share has went from 7% to 24% in the last 6 weeks. And they're becoming, a meaningful aspect of the NFT trading ecosystem. And those who, consider themselves traders, day traders, or even like, short to medium term traders, you need to start paying attention to Sol NFTs, right? It's 24% of the market right now. And that share is probably just going to climb up. So this was definitely an eye opener for me. I've been kind of tracking it, but I didn't realize it was quite this high just yet.
You gotta get DJ Savage here a .sol Solana domain. I think they're like $20 to get it, and you have it for life or whatever. It might depend on how many digits they are, but if you're doing DJ Savage, you're probably fine with it. But yeah, I think he's saying that his Sol is staked. So long-term bullish on Solana. Yeah, I've been looking at Solana NFTs basically since Utes came out, and I think that graph is somewhat in line with Utes as well. But it does seem like there's some staying power with a decent amount of these projects. We see this in the last week. We're showing the top 10 projects here, well, 12. But that Critters Cult, the thing I'd say about Solana is you kind of got to look into the projects on how long term they can really stick around for, because some of these will just get this random pump from say like 1 to 5 Solana, but if you don't sell into that pump, then it's like back down to 1 the next day if it's not like a legit project. So definitely want to like look into them. ABC is held up. They're connected to this Hade swap that's now, I believe it's completely public, right? Hade swap, which is their version of pseudo swap, is how I understand it. But yeah, ABC's got some staying power there. Obviously, Utes we've talked about a bunch, but most of these other ones are somewhat new to the scene. So that's the thing with going into Solana is there's always these new ones popping up every day, but there's less people trading them. So there's less of these like that's what we get with ETH right now on the low caps. Is there's so many people that know how to do it and are over there doing it and are using OpenSea and all these trackers that they can just dump a floor immediately and they're just like getting it immediately. There's just less people trading on Solana, so they kind of hold up a little longer for that, but it's for like $3 gains, just because the coin is only like $33 right now. So that's what I'd say about Solana. But they now have that Ethereum tab right there too, so you can also buy on Ethereum, which is nice. They show you all the different marketplaces, so it's funny to see like CryptoPunks as the top traded on there. But yeah, like it's very much all the same popular collections. I don't know if they're
I think they're
grabbing
pulling
this from
in.
all.
Yeah, I think they're becoming an aggregator.
Yeah,
which is interesting. I think it makes sense for Magic Eden. This is not the volume that Magic Eden has done for these collections. So this is the overall volume. But one of my initial takeaways when starting to trade on Magic Eden was how much better I liked the experience and the interface. Strictly 3 Sports is saying it here. Magic Eden's UI UX is better. It absolutely is.
So much better, yeah.
There's a built-in sweeping tool, better listing features. There's some trading analytics built in right into the tool. So it is better. I'm curious, like, will we see a shift and those who just pull up
I
OpenSea every
mean,
day. That's still me. I'm still doing everything mostly
I'm
off
personally
OpenSea.
starting to shift, but
Yeah,
like you said, like I could connect an Ethereum wallet and still do Ethereum. Like I don't have to be trading Solana NFTs to use Magic Eden.
right.
I just am currently at the point where I just prefer the interface of Magic Eden so much more.
Mhm.
So cool. Oh man, DJ Savage saying he got Solana at $1.50.
Oh, come on.
So you're fine then. But yeah, this is this. I mean, we saw it with Azra yesterday. It was such a smooth mint too. That if they have this launch pad, like I just start checking the insights tab, see what's been moving. Like you could see a lot of stuff on here to be a better trader. So might just start using Magic Eden more and see like what things I'm noticing. But cool. So yeah, we are doing actually we'll be doing our Rainmaker spaces at 5 Eastern. If anyone's interested in DraftKings Rainmakers, we have Brandon Adams who won the CryptoPunk in the Rainmakers contest last week. I'm not sure how many people were in that one. I think it was, I mean, if you want to talk about like decent chances, like it was like a 1 in 30 shot at a CryptoPunk, like pretty good chances. And it was funny. I don't think he had like a MetaMask wallet before, so it's kind of cool. Like someone who like he's actually going to hold it and wanted it, ended up winning. So that was cool to see. Art blocks. We'll probably have art blocks tomorrow or next week. We'll have some art blocks to talk about with the new curateds coming up. They are no longer doing their series. Something we didn't talk about, but I don't know. Do you have any take on that real quick? Or I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
I think what's the most interesting is people misinterpreted the announcement.
yeah,
So we immediately saw people starting to buy the last curated that had minted Active Emotion. That saw a brief surge. I want to say there were some other ones across various series as people thought like, okay, this is now maybe a unique set. Some people thought that their curated just wasn't going to do anymore mints. So the reality is this: they're going to finish out Series 8. That will be the end of the series grouping. And
yeah.
then they are going to continue doing curated mints. They just will not be tied to any series.
They almost accidentally created its own series and set now. It's like the ones that
The
are
non-series.
series versus non-series. Like
Right.
our series going to trade at a premium. Like we have seen, the consensus saying that full sets going to go up, and I think we've seen that. Like people now are going to look at series 1 through 8 as being like the OG, season 1 version, even though it's over, with 3 years almost worth of time. So yeah, that's an interesting one to check on. Like Artblocks is one that I've been paying more attention to than some other projects out there because we know it's legit. We know like a lot of the artists there are coming from like a good background. So those are the ones that I've actually been more participating in mints and like watching mints. So that'll be good.
And then we've got a new curated for next week. And
yeah.
I'll do a preview post next week, but just real quick, it's from Harvey Rayner, who did Photon's Dream, which is actually one of my favorite factory sets. I minted and have bought several of those. So check out Photon's Dream. Sometimes we see those factory sets which predate an artist curated start to hold more value. And then the curated project is called Fontana, 500 supply. I took a look at some of the sample outputs briefly this morning. It seems like this one is going to be one that the collectors might very well be drawn to. It's got some of those different patterns and spirals. There should be a decent rarity aspect. So we'll cover it in more detail, but Art Blocks is back next Wednesday for the next curated. And we'll see if the QQL momentum is going to translate into the next one. I'm not so sure.
I think it might. Yeah. So cool. Well, we'll catch you guys next week and hope you have a nice weekend.